All right, video going. Video is live. Let me see, Facebook. I gotta get Facebook going. 1 second. Hello, everybody. Hello, good evening. Check into the stream. Hey, I'm doing better. I'm on time, huh? Oh, that's weird. There we go. Facebook, let's get it. All right. Sharing the stream out, getting the algorithm out there. Welcome, everybody, to Mercado Media. I'm your host this evening, Andrew Mercado. Hey from Washington. Go ahead and shout out where you're tuning in from, what city, what state, where in the world, where you're watching from. Hello, hey, we've been covering the war in Ukraine since day one. So as you guys are checking on in, here's a short intro video, and then let's get started. All right, everybody, check into the stream if you have not done so. So let's go over the latest. The United Kingdom, a surprise visit from Boris Johnson. And yesterday I was like, man, I wonder if there's going to be any other major leaders showing up to Kyiv to walk around or do a tour like Ursula von der Leyen did from the European Union. So it was a surprise visit by Boris Johnson today. So the UK imposed sanctions on families of Putin and Lavrov, British assets of Vladimir Putin's alleged daughters, Katerina Tikhonova and Maria Vorontsova, as well as the possessions of Sergey Lavrov's daughter, Yekaterina Vinokurova, are frozen. They are banned from entering the United Kingdom. Luhansk Oblast Governor, Russian troops hit nitric acid tank in Rubizhne again. Governor Serhiy Haidai urged residents of the region not to leave bomb shelters and to close windows and their doors. United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson met with President Zelensky in Kyiv. The Prime Minister called the new package announced a testament of the United Kingdom's commitment to Ukraine's struggle against, quote, Russia's barbaric campaign. The aid includes Starstreak air defense systems, the NLAW anti-tank missiles, Javelin anti-tank systems, and other weapons. Let's take a look at that. So again, this is a look at Boris Johnson today, who just showed up, made a surprise visit, and met with Vladimir Zelensky. Let's take a look. Spam the reactions, guys. Share the stream. Get the stream out there. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you again for choosing Mercado Media.
Привіт.
Remont is a watch.
Yes, remont is to, you know, remont the watch. Yes, yes.
Hey. Welcome, everybody.
Я такий радий, Борис, forever Great Britain. Це капець, який я радий. Скажи, що ми вдячні будемо до кінця свого життя.
He said, Boris, that thank you.
Дякую. Нажмі, дивіться. Борис. Я радий, я такий радий вас бачити. Я люблю Британію. Вона врятувала нас. І я, мої діти, мої внуки будемо про це пам'ятати. Це буде жити крізь століття, ці спогади. Ви нам дуже потрібні. Всі це знають.
It's nice to meet you, and it's been our privilege to help you have a remarkable president, Mr. Zelensky, who's done an outstanding job, and we simply wish to keep supporting the people of Ukraine for as long as it takes.
Дякую, Борис. Я ніколи в житті не мріяв вас зустріти. Це найкраща зустріч в моєму житті.
Добрый день.
Майдан.
So, you know, me personally, maybe not really the biggest Boris Johnson fan in general, personal, but that's still a real good, I mean, he went there. You can't really say anything bad about this specific move from Boris Johnson showing up himself. I mean, he's there. He's not sitting behind the world organizations. I mean, Ursula von der Leyen visited, so that was huge. And then Boris Johnson. I guess the first poll tonight I should put in the chat as we get going is, do you guys, I mean, Biden went to Poland, but do you guys believe the President of the United States will visit Kyiv? We'll see. All right. I don't know though. I don't know. These are two major moves though. So the governor of the Kursk region says the border checkpoint near Elitsyovka village was shelled with mortars. 26 Ukrainian prisoners of war released in new exchange. Deputy Prime Minister Ernia Vereshchuk said they include 12 soldiers and 14 civilians, but she didn't disclose the number of prisoners of war sent back to Russia. It is the third prisoner exchange since February 24th. This is war is wrong and we need to stop it. I hope so, Lisa. I hope so. I do hope so, but it's not looking like it's going to end anytime soon, unfortunately. All right. No, there's other video too. There is plenty of video. So that is the latest rundown. This was the biggest event of the day. There is other video out there, including we can watch the video straight from Boris Johnson's account. Again, this is the Prime Minister of the UK.
I've been able to see quite a lot of you. No doubt at all that an independent, sovereign Ukraine will rise again, thanks above all to the heroism, the courage of the people of Ukraine. Thank you very much, and Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
So again, that coming straight from Prime Minister Boris Johnson's account. Here's an image of them shaking hands. I'm trying to find the one where he arrives from the beginning. I think we might have posted that to our Facebook page. Let me pull that up on Facebook really quick while I get the poll going on Facebook, guys. Spam those reactions. I think I'm a little shadow banned on Facebook. We were having 300 to 400 people tuned in usually. Taking that week off hurts. Is this the full one? No, there's one, the video where he shows up and shakes his hand. We've seen this one. Maybe you need to go to the list. I want to see it from the beginning when he like walks up, shakes his hand. Lots of video too to go through, guys. That's what we do here on this channel. We go through news stories. There's plenty of OSINT sources that just go over military movements. Like that's the most, I guess, the most unbiased way to cover this, because they're just showing you, hey, here's a blown up tank in this location. Here's this geographical spot. You know what I mean? I'm trying to include sources that provide the least amount of analysis, and more so just like, this is what this is. Here's where it's at this time. Like that's how we can reduce the amount of biases in the sources that we got. So a lot of the sources that on our list are like that. You know, if you want to search for analysis and listen to talk shows about it, you guys can do that, but we're not really looking for sources like that here on this channel or this page. I'm trying to find this was from 4 hours ago. Lots of video to go through today, guys. Lots of video, including Boris Johnson. Maybe I just need to search Boris. There we go. War in Ukraine. Here we go. All right. I found it. Let's get it.
How are you?
You know how
are you? Glad to see you. I'm very, very, very glad to see you. How are you doing? You're looking good. Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to see you. Fantastic to see you. How are you? You're looking well.
Yes.
Unbelievable considering what you've been through. You are strong.
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic. Well, you're absolute heroes. How are you? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. How are you? Good to see you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Oh, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
So Chimera, very old. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very, very much for having us.
Great.
Short notice.
Will be where?
Good. Okay.
Заходите.
Thank you, Karina.
You like you want. We are ready for all pharmacy.
Have we got
And Boris looks tired. Is it British tradition to ask how you're doing like 1,000 times? Do you guys see how many times Boris asked him how he's doing?
How are you? How are you?
How are you? That's twice.
You know
How are you?
The 3 times. He's like, Zelensky's like, you know how I'm doing. I like Zelensky's attitude in this whole thing.
Nice to see you. I'm very, very, very glad to see you. How are you doing?
How you doing? 4 times.
Good. Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to see you. Fantastic to see you. How are you? You're
5 times.
looking well.
Yes.
Unbelievable considering what you've been through. You are strong.
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic. Well, you're absolute heroes. How are you? Nice to see you.
How are you? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
How are you?
Good to see you. Thank you.
Nice to see you. Oh, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Aussies do it too. Asking him 1,000 times. Zelensky's like, you already know how I am.
So Chimera, very old. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very, very
I think he just asked him again, how are you? He's just Boris. Another clip too we got to go through too that cracked me up was he was handed two drink jars, and he asked if it's used for water or wine. Oh my god.
Great.
short notice.
Will be where?
Good. Okay.
He's such an awkward person. Do we have that clip on my Twitter account? I gotta find the one of Boris receiving a gift. Is this the part? Yes, here it is. All right, here's the second part. He receives a gift at the end. All right, more Boris Johnson walking through the streets of Kyiv.
I think he was.
How are you doing? How are you doing? Thank you to the super chats, everybody, and the stars and the super stickers and everybody supporting. Grab that subscriber badge on Facebook. Next week, gonna be doing subscriber-only streams, talking to you guys more often. Visited a monument.
Я купила для друзей из Польши вот таких петушков, они были на Бородянке.
This is the one. Listen to what Boris asked.
В Бородянке на шкафчике стояли, вот такие вот петушки остались, да, я хотела бы их подарить.
I'm from London.
No, I'm from Kharkiv. No, so sorry.
Thank you very much. Is it for wine or for water?
For wine or for water? I'm from London. No, where else would you be from, Boris? London is my city.
Two cockerels. Thank you very much.
І вам дякую.
Thank you.
Це буде Україна.
So you got to receive a gift, but if you missed it here, let's watch him walk through the town with President Zelensky. Pretty awesome moment. There's a civilian standing there, and he just said hey to Boris, and then Boris actually walked up to him and talked to him. So we'll watch both clips again. Thank you, Fallon. Yes, it does, Tia. 1 star is 1 penny, so they do add up. You thought they were bongs? No. They're like, you fill them with water. They're
Yes.
They store water, like our wine apparently for Boris. He's a drinker, I think.
Yeah.
I think Boris is a drinker. This is still huge though, regardless. Just walking through the streets of Kyiv. He's the first major Western leader to do it, unless you count Ursula von der Leyen from the EU.
Я такий радий, Борис, forever Great Britain. Це капець, який я радий. Скажи, що ми вдячні будемо до кінця свого життя.
He said, Boris, that thank you.
Дякую.
Нажміть, дивіться. Борис. Я радий, я такий радий вас бачити. Я люблю Британію. Вона врятувала нас. І я, мої діти, мої внуки будемо про це пам'ятати. Це буде жити крізь століття, ці спогади. Ви нам дуже потрібні. Всі це знають.
It's nice to meet you, and it's been our privilege to help you have a remarkable president, Mr. Zelensky, who's done an outstanding job, and we simply wish to keep supporting the people of Ukraine for as long as it takes.
Дякую, Борис. Я ніколи в житті не мріяв вас зустріти. Це найкраща зустріч в моєму житті.
I messed up the closed captioning tonight. I forgot to hit the switch on. I apologize on YouTube. So, not tonight. It'll be back on tomorrow again. I forgot tonight for closed captioning. Do apologize. The flag next to your name means you're a follower on Facebook. There's badges that you acquire for different things that you do on Facebook, like sharing, becoming a follower, becoming a supporter, sending stars. You get a badge next to your name. Facebook's trying to keep up with the other platforms with badges and stuff. to keep it interactive in the community on there.
How are you? How are you? Yes, добрый день. My dog.
How are you?
The cars can move.
That was the big question. People were trying to figure out what's in the bag. This dude's carrying this. Some important, and then here's clip number 2.
I think he was.
Yeah, I apologize. He'll be back tomorrow.
Я купила для друзей из Польши вот таких петушков, они были на Бородянке на шкафчике стояли, вот такие вот петушки остались, да, я хотела бы их подарить.
I'm from London.
No, I'm from Kharkiv. No, so sorry.
Thank you very much. Is it for wine or for water? For two cockerels. Thank you very much. Дякую.
І вам дякую.
Thank you.
Свобода Україна.
Hello, Ukraine.
All right, that was Boris Johnson. So, and here we go. Footage from Irpin in Ukraine. So just going down our timeline of news from today. Video coming out of the city of Irpin, satellite city to the southwest, or excuse me, to the northwest of Kyiv, capital city. Irpin, directly south of Bucha. Here's what it looks like. YouTube's hiding some of the comments, but I'm dying at some of them relating to the gift that Boris Johnson received. This is reporters from Kyiv Independent went to Chernihiv, a regional capital in northern Ukraine that was besieged for 21 days while being heavily bombarded. So this is Chernihiv, to the northeast of Kyiv. All right. City of Chernihiv. Like the video if you guys haven't. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. And make sure you're following the Facebook page.
We're now in Chernihiv, a regional capital northeast of Kyiv.
Credit to the Kyiv Independent for the report.
This is the stadium of a local team, Desna, which played in Ukraine's top division. The stadium was hit with an airstrike. According to the regional administration, the stadium can't be repaired. We're here in Novosilivka, a suburb of Chernihiv, where it looks like every house was destroyed. The people we were able to talk to told us that for 21 days Russia bombed this area. Many had died. Here, a family lived, a mother, a father, and 2 children. They fled to Chernihiv, and then when they came back, their house was ruined.
All right. That was Chernihiv. Keep going down our list. Clip 5 destroyed Russian BMP-2 and a gas 334420 a loot. Again, you can follow us on Twitter if you want to see these clips throughout the day before the coverage, but I mean, we go through the whole thing on live. Hey, I also found an updated video that we're going to go through about with the Azov Battalion. That's a good discussion. I finally found the guy that did the video had a really honest and open discussion about it, and we'll watch through that later because I feel like that's something we do need to talk about. We can't shy away from it. All right, so this is 5 destroyed Russian BMP-2 and a gas 334420 a loot. Okay, my bad. Didn't know it had music. We got 82% that's saying no right now for a president of the United States visiting Kyiv. 82% saying nah. That would be a powerful move, though, to see the president of the United States walking through Kyiv. But, like, I mean, man, that's a lot. You know what I mean? That's a distance there, even that Boris took. Yeah, my bad. You never know. Some of these videos have ridiculously loud music for no reason. We got a poll up on Facebook too, by the way, guys, if you haven't seen it, for the Facebook audience. I'm thinking it's going to be the same numbers. Maybe the U.S. will send a delegation. I'm sure, listen, I think the U.S. will send someone. I don't think it'll be Biden, though, me personally. But I do think that after the UK, Boris showed up. But me personally, I don't think it'll be Biden. We'll see. You guys seem to, most of you agree as well. There's still 18% believe there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance. You think he will within 6 months, Colin? Yeah, I'd love to be proved wrong. Open to it. All right. Continuing on, here's some captured Russian BMP-3s and a BTR-82A. So we've been seeing videos and clips of the vehicles getting painted. They just repaint them with Ukrainian flag, and they're using them now, just repurposing. Let me make sure there's no music. No, we're good. Wow. So you can see it being used. Again, this is Ukrainian. They are Russian vehicles, but repurposed for Ukraine. All right. So that's where you see the paint, Ukraine flag paint on the vehicles. All right. Is that all the clips we shared for today? Let's go through the list. Woman tells how Russians were shocked how Ukrainians live. They have all houses made of bricks, laptops, and Nutella in every house. It can't be. I wonder how Russians were shocked at how Ukrainians lived. Is there going to be an English dub? No, there's no translation. What's interesting is that Russia officially has a GDP per capita that's much higher than Ukraine, but common people live like shit because it's all stolen by the Putin gang. So they purposely have to live. I mean, like living I mean. So they're shocked at how well Ukrainians are living. Y'all may have noticed I haven't been on active today. I've been on vacation. Okay. Let's keep going here. Local activists held a rally in support of Ukraine at the Russian consulate in Almaty, Kazakhstan. Now this account just shared this clip, but I do believe it's from a day prior, so it's still relevant within the last couple of days, but it's not from today. And it's a die-in, so they're not injured for real. It's a protest, so there's activists doing a die-in, and then they're getting taken away by the Kazakh police. Now here we go. Let's go through Rob Lee so we can get the combat footage from the day. Here's the Chechen forces. Now this is the only way that I can show each side of the conflict. I mean, it is all propaganda on Russia's side, but I mean, you still do get a glimpse at their movements and I mean how unsuccessful their tactics are. But so here is the Chechen forces in Mariupol. All right, the Kyivites.
Allahu Akbar!
So again, this is the Chechen forces. They have the white bands on fighting for Russia. This is Mariupol down here. They're fighting the far right Azov Battalion. Right? So you got the battalion that does their own shit, or that they're like a part of the Ukrainian military, but again, we're going to be going through a solid video that talks about it, that's updated. A lot of people have been wanting to share the 2014 video, but that's from 8 years ago. So, and it actually does, the video we're going to go through does provide good analysis, like the most unbiased way to look at it, because you can't shy away from what that battalion is either. So this is the Chechen forces that are for Russia that are fighting. This just proves how gross war is. That's the reoccurring theme. You know, war is not good. War is bad. War is gross. So this is the Chechen forces likely fighting the Azov Battalion in Mariupol. Mariupol is the only city left down to the eastern and southeastern region of Ukraine that has not been taken by Russian forces. Here, let's look at our war map. Look at our war map. You guys can see the entire eastern and southeastern portion of Ukraine, and there's Crimea, and then Mariupol's down here being held. All right.
Burn! Давай, 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 Бля, давай, до первого дела, чуть-чуть. До первого этажа, давай, чуть-чуть. Первый этаж, долго.
So in order to understand that, I mean, we went through the history of how there could be Chechens fighting for Russia at all. I mean, that's a complex and nuance. I highly recommend you guys looking up the history on YouTube or finding a solid video. We did it weeks ago, but we're gonna keep pushing on if you're confused. Video reportedly of a Russian Air Force Su-34 bomber flying over Horlivka on April 4th. I do hope that another reoccurring theme is how important it is that nuance and like things aren't all as they seem in terms of how your bias, you know what I mean, your opinion of things might be changed. I'm sure, like for me, a lot of things that I thought were a thing are not. You know what I mean? Like my whole frame of mind of the understanding of just this part of geopolitics has just been mind-blowing from the beginning of this. So keep an open mind as best you can, everybody, on all sides. And our community and our stream has been doing an amazing job doing so. Shout out to our Discord server for sharing information as we have been going for over 40 days. Video reportedly of a Russian Air Force Su-34 bomber flying over Horlivka on April 4th. Okay, we don't need the music. So there it is, the Su-34 flying through the air. Okay, Russian Ministry of Defense video likely from an Inkodets UCAV of an airstrike reportedly of a camouflaged Ukrainian ammo depot. So this is a Russian side video hitting a Ukrainian ammo depot. UAV drone footage. Kind of hard to make out what that is. Kind of blurry when it zooms in. That's the moment of impact right there. All right, continuing on. We saw that. Captured Russian BMP-3 and a BTR-82A being test fired by Ukrainian troops. Captured Russian BM-21 Grad MLRS and trucks. What's the context? Just a video some? All right. Captured Russian BMP-21s and MLRS. So we've seen a lot of these trucks being used on the Russian side. And again, Ukraine is capturing these and then repurposing them and using them for their own defense purposes. Yeah, I'm seeing 82% as well. Facebook is at 85% say no. So damn near the same. Damn near the same on both. Alright. Here's a damaged Russian T-72B3 tank. Is there a geolocated? No. Just a damaged Russian T-72B3 tank. Here's a clip.
Москальська техніка. Трошки не вижила. Ну нічого. В следующий раз їхати до нас не будуть. Муфлони. Москальська техніка. Трошки не вижила. Ну нічого. В следующий раз їхати до нас не будуть. Муфлони.
All right. Ukraine, 152 millimeter 2S19 MSTA-S SPG of the Russian army was captured by Ukrainian forces. The video is from today, but we are unsure precisely where, when it was left behind. Okay, more music. Oh my god. Is this just like that's the TikTok sound for the war, huh? 85% say no. On Facebook. We saw the ammo depot. Saw that. 5 destroyed Russian BM. This has music to it as well, though. All these have music. Yeah. What's this here? Video of VDV BMD4M BTR MDM, a BMD2, a BTRD vehicles in the Kharkiv Oblast, reportedly from Hostomel. All right, so this is again vehicles in the Kharkiv Oblast, reportedly from Hostomel. So they came from Hostomel. Now they're in the Kharkiv Oblast, which is up here. Lots of strikes. Russian army using the MLRS Tornado against Kharkiv. So they're hitting soft targets, huh? What was this? 5 hours ago? 17 hours ago? About 50 shelling with artillery, mortars, tanks, and MLRS in Kharkiv in the last 24 hours. That was 19 hours ago. So they came from here. That's a long distance that they came from. Here is the 4th Tank Division T-80U tanks in the Izium direction. So lots of, looks like some movement today. This was 5 hours ago. Izium's up here. This city right here. Here's Luhansk and Donetsk. Kharkiv right here. And then here's Izium. It is a Russian-occupied, Russian-controlled city. Here it is in the war map. Hello from Waco, Texas. How you doing, Waco, Texas? Hello, hello. Hey, Larry. So T-80U tanks in Easium direction. Yeah, they do. Fully loaded. These tanks look like they're a little equipped better. Look at the equipment that's all over them. These ones, at least. Z-truck went off. What does Russian occupied mean? It means territory that Russian soldiers have a foothold in. All of the red shaded region is Russia. I mean, the white space is Ukraine. It's their country, right? And then this is territory inside of Ukraine that Russian soldiers, or politically, I mean, here Crimea has been annexed since 2014, so that's why it's red. And this is the Luhansk and Donetsk, which Vladimir Putin gave their independence to, so that's why it's like got a solid, it's a little darker red around it. So this is where Russian soldiers have a foothold in. Here's Kyiv up here. Rozgodvirda, Spetsnaz, and Kyiv Oblast before the retreat. These are Spetsnaz. This is their best soldiers, apparently. Hello, everyone from Lexington, Kentucky. How you doing? Here is, this is reportedly a successful mortar strike by 2 Russian trucks by the Azov Regiment. Is there a thread? A couple videos. Successful mortar strike on 2 Russian trucks by the Azov Regiment. Well, right. And then here is the aftermath of the 2 trucks. From a satellite photo. Yeah, it was a direct hit. Amateurish geolocation. Is there coordinates? Where is it? By a big parking lot? It's in here. I can't, there's no way you can do a street view of it though. No street view. You can drop in. Look like a nice beach area. Wow. Look at that stage, a sound stage there. This was in 2019. Oh, it was a nice beach area. Captain Morgan over there. Red Bull, like they had a race, probably a Red Bull event, maybe. That's the beach. That's the beach that we're looking at over here. All right. Continuing on. We have captured Russian MSTA-B howitzers and the BTR-80, presumably from Russia's 6th Tank Regiment and the Ukrainian SSO. So some howitzers, it says. Yep. And a BTR-80. So some captured Russian equipment today. Saw that. Ukraine UA forces operating a captured T-72B3. Oh, that's old. This is a video from 2016. Why do they have it in the thread? Don't trust it. Could be old video. What is this here? 9 injured after a man opened fire at a bar in Israel. Okay. Why is this being shared on the Russia-Ukraine conflict? Okay, there was a shooting in a bar in Israel. Not sure why the Russia-Ukraine conflict page shared that. Here's the BTR-82 Alpha of the Russian armed forces in the Kharkiv region. Yeah, our channel there, we don't support Putin's choice to invade at all. I've made that clear. There is no justification. There is no justification. This is old. This is from a few days ago now. Chechen forces fighting. Doesn't seem like might not be as many videos to go through. Again, the biggest event of the day was Boris Johnson visiting Kyiv, y'all. Boris Johnson visited. We can take a look at the video. Let's see if I missed anything else. There's some photos. Let's see what John's update. Let's do that quick. Air raid sirens day 44, 45. Let's see. Shared that. There's John in his hat. Okay, let's do this one first, and then we'll do the nighttime one. So here's John Sweeney, one of our sources we've been following, in his diaries from Kyiv. All right, John Sweeney. Here it is. Here's the first video, and then we'll go to the nighttime one.
This was a massacre planned, perpetrated, and knowingly carried out against women and children. Here's my logic for this. It's simple, is that Ukrainians have told their people in Donetsk and Luhansk, Donbass, to get out because there's going to be a ferocious battle. And rather than letting the civilians get out, what the Russians did was send in a missile specifically at the railway station, which is not a military target, full of people, and there's pictures of the whole place packed with women and kids. And they did it, I think, with cluster bombs, and cluster bombs, it's a two-stage weapon. The first bomb explodes above ground, and then bomblets the size of golf balls kill people. This is C. Boris Johnson and Scholz said, listen, we don't want to send tanks to Ukraine. I think the reason is that they want to give Vladimir Putin a get out. The critical date is May the 9th, which is the Soviet end, if you like, of the Second World War. Remember, they were Hitler's ally for almost 2 years. But anyway, Putin wants to claim a kind of victory on May the 9th. And so what Britain and Germany is saying is, let's give Putin an exit ramp because we don't want him to rattle his nuclear sabers. I think this is nonsense, and I'll tell you why. It's nonsense because Putin is dangerous for the West while he's still alive. And what we should do is give the Ukrainians the heavy metal they need to finish him off, or to humiliate the Russian army so powerfully that somebody in the Kremlin finally moves against him.
Love from Kyiv. One more time, and then we'll watch the latest one in case you just started tuning in now and you missed it. So I do play clips twice.
Sorry, day 45 of Vladimir Putin's war, Kramatorsk. This was a massacre planned, perpetrated, and knowingly carried out against women and children. Here's my logic for this. It's simple, is that Ukrainians have told their people in Donetsk and Luhansk, Donbass, to get out because there's going to be a ferocious battle. And rather than letting the civilians get out, what the Russians did was send in a missile specifically at the railway station, which is not a military target, full of people, and there's pictures of the whole place packed with women and kids. And they did it, I think, with cluster bombs, and cluster bombs, it's a two-stage weapon. The first bomb explodes above ground, and then bomblets the size of golf balls kill people. This is C. Boris Johnson and Scholz said, listen, we don't want to send tanks to Ukraine. I think the reason is that they want to give Vladimir Putin a get-out. The critical date is May the 9th, which is the Soviet end, if you like, of the Second World War. Remember, they were Hitler's ally for almost 2 years. But anyway, Putin wants to claim a kind of victory on May the 9th. And so what Britain and Germany is saying is, let's give Putin an exit ramp because we don't want him to rattle his nuclear sabers. I think this is nonsense, and I'll tell you why. It's nonsense because Putin is dangerous for the West while he's still alive. And what we should do is give the Ukrainians the heavy metal they need to finish him off, or to humiliate the Russian army so powerfully that somebody in the Kremlin finally moves against him.
All right. And then let's go look at his newest update. From the nighttime, again, there's a picture of Boris Johnson sitting and meeting with President Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
Kyiv Diary, day
44
of Vladimir Putin's war. And it's Putin's lullaby all over again. I have a simple message to you, Mr. Putin. And it goes like this. Vladimir Putin, do fuck off.
So that's from 8 hours ago. Air raid sirens in Kyiv. Air raid sirens in Kyiv 8 hours ago. I guess you guys, if you haven't seen it, this is the Stugna anti-tank missile system against Russian forces, if you haven't seen this.
Есть! Есть, сука! Есть! Сука, за Харьков, блядь! Есть, блядь! Ой-ой-ой! Смотри, как горит, а? Да не спостерігайте, тут дивіться колону, блядь! Не мешай, ну ёб твою мать! Не мешай мне, я опера... Есть! Это не тот же самый, не? Это тот же самый. Заряжай! Заряжай!
Thank you, Laura, for the Cash App. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody. Thank you that everyone that's sending stars, sending super chats, and supporting the live stream. My feed is a viewer-funded stream. I'm not sponsored by anybody yet. I have no corporate interest. I'm truly independent. And even when I do get a sponsor, I'll still be independent. And if they try to make me be otherwise, then I guess I just won't be sponsored anymore. So, but hopefully someday. But you guys are the ones that are holding it down right now, keeping the dream going. Russia is sending a new batch of cannon fodder to Ukraine from one of its poorest regions, Tuva, near Mongolia. Their mothers look proud as they wave them off. Nobody has told them about their... Okay, so heavily opinionated post about it, but I think it's still the same clip. Yeah, it's the same clip that's been shared around. But this is a very poor region of conscripts. So here's a video. I wonder if there's a better... Is there a better video? If you guys can find a higher quality, high def video, it's Potato here on Twitter. They have like Walmart rain boots on.
Товарищ глава Республики 2, добровольцы, конечно, 30 человек, которые день митинга построены. Военный комиссар Республики Антония Антона.
Здравствуйте, товарищи!
Здравствуйте, товарищ глава правительства Республики 2.
Уважаемые земляки, вы сильные и мужественные люди, достойные наследники боевой славы своих предков, добровольцев Великой Отечественной войны. Дорогие друзья,
Желаем вам удачи, берегите себя, возвращайтесь с победой. Вас верят и ждут. Сегодня мы поддерживаем нашего верховного главнокомандующего, нашего президента, его решение. Решение проведения специальной военной операции и уничтожения фашизма, который породил Запад. Сегодня мы видим, сколько у нас на самом деле врагов, предателей. Но это все осветляет то, что сегодня стоит строй добрых, хороших мужиков подготовленных, которые проявили свое желание защищать наше Отечество.
Thank you. Third in line. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much for that. I think, yeah, it's the Walking Dead Battalion. Maybe we can look that up on YouTube. That is what they were referred to as. Oh, there was like a video on, hold on, Russia. Let me see. Hold on. Tuva. Let me see. There's a report. Tuva, Russia. Here we go. That's still terrible quality. No, this is the same video. Same one. They have like Walmart rain boots on for real. They're going out there in boots. All right, we can look at Rob's video then. We went through a lot of the clips already. So, Ukrainian official charged with high treason.
How are you guys?
Let's see what Rob has to say. All right, latest update.
How are you guys?
Again, this is Rob Turkla's channel, Speak the Truth. We've been tuned in. He's got a few other channels, but I didn't know about him until the war coverage. I found his channel on like day 2 of the invasion, and we've been using it as a supplementary piece to the reports because he has knowledge and insight of combat tactics. He was a U.S. Army sniper, so he knows what he's talking about when it comes to combat, and so we tune in. All right, now he's got a huge channel, so throughout the course of the war, this specific channel's grown, but he does have other channels that have millions. So this is Rob's video, Speak the Truth. Let's see what he's got to say.
Guys doing, and welcome over here to the channel. If you're new, do yourself a favor and hit the subscribe button. We're posting videos every single day over this conflict because it is going to be ever changing, and it seems it's actually becoming more of a world issue now. There's been quite a bit of stuff that's been happening outside of Ukraine that is actually impacting Ukraine. I don't know. It feels like every week that goes by, we're getting closer and closer to like a World War III type scenario. I know that sounds really goofy to say, and it's not just me saying it for like some title or thumbnail or whatnot, but if you sit here and listen to what I'm about to talk about, it's going to make you think, like, what in the world is actually going on outside of my little bubble that I live in? So if you guys are new to the channel, this is my map. I created this thing and I update it every single day, so you have the most up-to-date information that is going on. Over here, you're going to have blue Ukraine, red Russia. Very, very clear. These little blue triangles you see are going to be heavily fortified defensive positions by the Ukrainian forces. So this is pretty much that. We're not going to talk about that as of right now. I just want to give you guys a layout of this map before we move on to it. So a Finnish general has actually reacted to Putin's threats about Finland joining NATO. He said this: "You are more than welcome to come here and join the 200,000 Russians that are already in Finland buried a few meters underneath the ground in the last attempt in 1939. Finland will be applying to join NATO in the next 30 days, but Sweden will actually be a longer process due to less structure in consultations with their allies." So Sweden's going to take a little bit longer. I mean, it's not, they've always been kind of like the middle ground type country. So they think they're going to join. I would assume they're going to join. If Finland joins, I see Sweden doing it. And Finland's actually came out saying they're going to be joining and applying within the next 30 days. So these images you are about to see are of an S-300 surface-to-air missile system that have been arriving to Ukraine from Slovakia. Now, the effective range of these things are actually, it kind of varies depending on the missile systems they're using.
Hey, and you remember, man, it seems like he's talking faster and faster. Hey, the the Slovakia deal. Hold on. For Patriot missile systems. Slovakia. Patriot missile systems. NPR, U.S. to place Patriot missile defense systems with Ukraine swap. We got to trade. So missile defense system swap in Slovakia to help with Ukraine swap. President Biden said on Friday that the United States would place a Patriot missile defense system in Slovakia. That country provided a Russian-made S-300 air defense system to Ukraine. Slovakian Prime Minister Edward Heger said earlier in the day that his country had sent an S-300 mobile anti-aircraft system to Ukraine, which has had an existing supply of such systems but lost a number of them in the course of the war. Slovakia previously said it would ship S-300 systems to Ukraine, provided its NATO allies would backfill them with other weapons. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said in the statement that the missile defense system will be manned by U.S. service members, with both battery and crew expected to arrive in Slovakia in the coming days. Their deployment length is not yet fixed, he added, and the U.S. continues to consult with the Slovakian government about more permanent air defense solutions. So, trade. Slovakia is sending the S-300 to Ukraine, and we're sending Slovakia the Patriot missile defense system.
I did a little bit of research on them because I was actually kind of curious. It's 50 to 60 miles. It really depends on which one it is, how old it is, which missile they're using. We'll just say 50 to 60 miles because some of them go up to 80, but we're going to say 50 to 60. I would assume that's what they have. But the United States is going to be replacing the systems that they're giving with an actual U.S.-made Patriot air system. So it's going to be a little bit better, of course, because it's coming from U.S., and I think we're just a little bit ahead of our time. These ones, the ones that they're giving them are like Soviet-made, so it's kind of ironic they're using Soviet equipment to fight the Soviets, essentially. I guess that's pretty much what Russia came back to, but that's pretty much that. It did not state that the U.S. is going to be giving them these Patriot missile systems because it's actually an entire battery. It's just not like one thing they're giving. It's a battery to use them. They're gonna need training and whatnot, but I don't know if they're actually giving it to them or if they're just kind of loaning them. You know what I mean? So those videos out there currently, which I'm not going to show you a single bit of them, but the Ukrainian police have actually started to extract the bodies from the killings that have actually happened by the Russians inside the Bucha area, in the buried mass grave area near the churches. As of now, 20 of the bodies have been recovered, and 2 of them have actually been from the Ukrainian military. They're going to examine each and every single body that comes out of these mass graves to identify which ones war crimes have been committed against. And then they're going to place these people back into local cemeteries and actually bury them correctly. The mass grave they're currently working on has 67 bodies in it alone. Yeah, this is terrible. It keeps coming out and keeps getting worse. U.S. officials have also stated that Russia is seeking to recruit more than 60,000 reservists and said that Russia has actually started to mobilize reservists, but is unclear how successful that effort will actually be. And Russia's actually changed their military command, which is probably something they should have done about 2 weeks deep into the military conflict that they've been trying to do, or the war, I guess you would say, because it wasn't panning out. But they finally have done it. Now, this gentleman they've replaced with General Alexander Vorkunov. I think you take the D off there, but he was actually in Syria. He's got a lot of experience in Syria, and he's apparently now going to lead the entire army amid the Kremlin's desire to have some sort of success by May 9th. We've stated this before. They really want to have some May 9th celebration because that's when their World War II victory against the Nazis were. Which, to me, saying that is somewhat ironic because of what they're doing right now is almost somewhat what happened in 1930s. It's very strange. Russian ambassador in the U.S. These people are being, that's what I'm saying, like, at the very beginning of this episode, I was telling you guys about, like, teetering on World War III, the stuff that's coming out. God, what are they doing? Why are they trying to poke the bear? So this Russian ambassador said the actions of the Western countries, this is crazy, the actions of the Western countries are dangerous and provocative. They could lead to a direct military confrontation between Russia and the United States. Russia 100% does not want to mess with the United States. I'm not saying that because I am a U.S. citizen. I'm saying that because I have thoroughly covered this entire conflict.
Facts. I bet you he's going to say this because, I mean, it's my channel you guys are watching now, but I bet you he's going to say this. He's thoroughly seen it. Listen, we've thoroughly seen it in a one-on-one. It would be bad between the United States military and the Russian military. It would not even be close. It would make Rocky 2 look, or what is the one with Ivan Drago? Rocky 3? Yeah, it would be bad. But obviously the concern is the missiles. And further, I mean, The other concern is what Russia just said too, is they're like provocating the West as if it's the West that's the cause of these happenings. So let's listen to that part one more time.
In the U.S., these people are being, that's what I'm saying, like at the very beginning of this episode, I was telling you guys about like teetering on World War III, the stuff that's coming out. God, what are they doing? Why are they trying to poke the bear? So this Russian ambassador said the actions of the Western countries, this is crazy. The actions of the Western countries are dangerous and provocative. They could lead to a direct military confrontation between Russia and the United States. Russia 100% does not want to mess with the United States. I'm not saying that because I am a U.S. citizen. I'm saying that because I have thoroughly covered this entire conflict, this entire war. And I promise you, the Russian military cannot even handle 1/3 of what the United States military could bring on them. I know this for a fact.
Listen, hey, there's one thing that American citizens, if you have never served in the military, like watching this for sure. Like, if you're a veteran, if you've served, I mean, I know the memes, the jokes about, you know, the National Guard, reservists, but listen, our National Guard and reservists are 1,000 times better trained than their best soldiers that we've seen, than Russia's best soldiers. Hands down. I know active duty, and it's like a little like back and forth between the reserves and active and whatever. But even our National Guard, our soldiers here that protect the borders at home in the United States are 1,000 times better trained than their active units that are out there in Ukraine. It wouldn't even be close. So American citizens, you can feel even extra safe knowing that if you haven't already. I mean, our military is the best. We've learned that now.
Promise you. Now him,
maybe China, but definitely versus Russia, it's not close. All right, at least up against Russia, it's not close.
Saying this, I feel like it's just them like bolstering and try to be really big and proud. I do not think the Russian military understands how powerful the United States military is. Like saying this kind of stuff is not going to pan out for them. Anyway, Boris Johnson has made an unannounced visit to Zelensky in Kyiv. So you guys see this sweet photo? Yeah, that one right there. He's actually made his own little appearance. I would assume this photo was actually shared after he had left the city, and he's not going to be geolocated and actually targeted. But the UK has actually set a new package of financial military aid for Ukraine at $130 million. This aid will include Starstreak air defense system, NLAW anti-tank missiles, Javelin anti-tank systems, and other weapons. They're also sending 120 armored vehicles, along with, I think, a ship and some anti-tank ship missile type deals. I don't know the exact name of them, but essentially there's a lot of nomenclatures, a lot of numbers mixed in. It's basically anti-ship missiles on a ship to help them deter Russian ships from coming in. Hopefully that's dumbed it down. It's basically it's a lot of little numbers. I didn't feel like saying them anyway. Israeli fighter jets bomb targets in Syria. It's like this thing, like I'm telling you, like what is going on in the world? We all live in our own little bubbles in our houses. We all don't want to really get out of this bubble, but it just seemed like we're all playing with fire right now. Israel fighter jets have bombed targets in Syria where airstrikes were focused on Masaf areas where military research sites are based. So they actually went after legitimate military targets inside of Syria. And apparently, a quarter of the Russian forces in Ukraine are effectively inoperable. It has also been noted that more than 80% of Russian troops in some areas in certain units are refusing to fight. 29 Russian battalion tactical groups, or BTGs, are currently out of order. It's essentially the same as our battalion. So in the U.S. Army, U.S. military, we'll look at 800 to 1,000 men or women inside of a battalion, essentially. So you're looking at about 29,000, men and women are out of battalion tactical groups, are pretty much out of order, which means they're combat ineffective is the best way to put it. Only a couple more little news pieces. I know there's a ton going on. This one's kind of big. Russia has actually staged war games today as I'm filming this, in Kaliningrad, which I'm going to show you guys actually on. I know I probably jacked up the name, so calm yourself inside the comment.
Anybody have this footage that he's showing from the war games that were held in Russia? This is all going on.
I'm going to show you guys here on Google Earth. Okay, so this is Russian territory. Now look where it's at. I'm going to slowly just kind of move my way out here. You guys see the boundary? You guys see the boundary right there of it? Now look where it's at. Lithuania, Belarus, Poland. It's kind of trapped. And it's sitting right on the Baltic Sea area.
What?
So
That's a piece of Russia right there? Yo. They just have like a piece of there's just a piece of Russia right in the mix up here. What? That's fucking wild. What?
Now look where it's at. Lithuania, Belarus, Poland. It's kind of trapped. And it's sitting right on the Baltic Sea area. So it's more or less just a strategic position they can actually use. It's more or less a forward operating base to hit other NATO countries, essentially is the best way to put it.
Dude, World War II treaties, like, what were they doing back then? What is this? Why did I not know that this piece of land was part of Russia here? I've been staring at this. You know what? We need to start going like this here. We need to start moving the map around and start studying these other areas as heavy as, I mean, we know, I know lots of you, I need to start studying more of Eastern Ukraine now so I can quickly go to city, but Central Ukraine and Western Ukraine, I can pretty much memorized, have those cities memorized now. But what the hell? Kaliningrad. Had no idea. Sitting here looking at it for over a month now.
They had 1,000 military personnel and more than 60 military equipment units involved in this event. They had 20 Su-27 fighters.
It was given to them? Let's look up hold on. We can come back to Rob for a second. What? Kaliningrad. Let's see what the history of that is quick. Kaliningrad, Russia. What is that about? Why does Russia own Kaliningrad? Here, let's go. Short
if you look at a modern map.
Perfect. Shout out to History Matters. Give them a subscribe and a like. Let's get a little mini history lesson so we're not just sitting here guessing.
Of Europe, you'll see a curious exclave along the Baltic Sea. This is Kaliningrad and has been a part of the Russian Federation since 1991. The more observant of you will have noticed that it isn't attached to Russia, which raises the question, why does Russia own Kaliningrad and how did it come to possess it? Well, first of all, the region, centered on a city of the same name, hasn't been known as Kaliningrad for very long, but prior to this was known as Königsberg. From the 13th century, it was a part of the lands of the Teutonic Order, and by the 16th century, Königsberg was the central part of the newly formed Duchy of Prussia, a puppet state of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. It wasn't long before Prussia broke free, and Königsberg was the site which saw the first king of Prussia crowned. Within a few centuries it had grown to this, and by the late 19th century it was the dominant force within the newly formed German Empire. As you'll be able to guess, Königsberg, whilst not the capital, held a special place within the German Empire as one of its cultural centres and the birthplace of its ruling dynasty. The point I'm trying to get at is, for about 6 centuries prior to this point, Königsberg and its surrounding area was primarily German, although you should note that there were sizable Polish and Lithuanian minorities there too. The status of this land didn't really change until the Second World War, although you should be aware that the 1919 Treaty of Versailles after the First World War saw Germany lose this territory in its ruling Prussian dynasty. As you'll notice, it did keep Königsberg itself, but this time as its own exclave known as Eastern Prussia. You'll also notice that it did lose this land to the newly formed Lithuania, which throughout the period of the Weimar Republic was a hotbed of support for the growing National Socialist movement, which soon saw a certain Adolf Hitler running the show, who got this land back from Lithuania, and also cue World War II, which Germany lost. In 1945, Soviet forces advanced on Königsberg, and this led to many of the people living there fleeing west deeper into Germany. After a destructive siege, the city fell to the Soviets, and after Germany's surrender, its borders were once again redrawn by the victorious powers. This time, Germany was to lose Königsberg and the area around it to Stalin's USSR and its new Eastern European puppet states. The region of East Prussia was thus divided into 3 parts. The southern part went to Poland, and the northern part went to the USSR, but as a part of the Lithuanian Soviet Republic. And as for the centre, which included the city of Königsberg itself, this went to the USSR's Russian Soviet Republic. So why wasn't it given to Lithuania despite being next door? Well, at this point, Lithuania had only recently been incorporated into the USSR, mostly against the will of those who lived there, and thus Stalin didn't trust them with an area of such military importance. Furthermore, the region was subject to widespread ethnic cleansing, which saw most of its remaining Germans deported to East Germany and replaced mostly with Russians. That said, when Stalin died, his successor Nikita Khrushchev did offer Kaliningrad to Lithuania, who said no. Why? Because the people there weren't Lithuanian, and its leaders felt that incorporating so many Russians into its territory would cause long-term issues. Thus, Kaliningrad would remain a part of the Russian Soviet Republic throughout the lifespan of the USSR until its collapse in 1991. This marked a point in which the status of the area could have changed. Lithuania still wasn't interested in Kaliningrad for the same reasons as before, and this view was shared by Poland. That left Germany, which had a long-standing historical claim to the area. So why didn't they get it? First of all, it was because the Russian Federation inherited the lands of the Russian Soviet Republic, and also because Germany didn't want it. During the process of reunification, the West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl didn't push to regain the exclave. His first priority was the reunification of East and West, and he felt that trying to force the issue of Kaliningrad would upset the global powers he was trying to negotiate with. Britain and France were already wary of a reunified Germany, and to give it extra land was, to them, a cause for yet more concern. And so, Germany never tried to reclaim Königsberg, which was barely even German anymore. And for Russia, Kaliningrad was just as Russian as any other bit of it, and so why would they even contemplate letting it go? I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for watching.
So it's just kind of like, okay. So Germany didn't want anything. Germany didn't want to mess with it because, I mean, okay. See how nuanced and how history and things in life just aren't so one way, or just aren't one. There isn't one direct answer. So Kaliningrad, it's just they didn't want to mess up they didn't want to mess up what was already established there for a while. Kaliningrad, the exclave, it hasn't changed. It's still Russian territory. Okay. Isn't history fun?
And Su-24s, frontline naval aviation bombers conducting planned combat training overnight. They were simulating attacks on low-speed and air-ground targets. Quick,
if you just started tuning in, we watched that history lesson because Russia's doing military training exercises there in Kaliningrad. So let's go back quick to what Rob was talking about so we get context.
I'm going to show you guys here on Google Earth. Okay, so this is Russian territory. Now look where it's at. I'm going to slowly just kind of move my way out here. You guys see the boundary? So you guys see the boundary right there of it? Now look where it's at. Lithuania, Belarus, Poland. It's kind of trapped. And it's sitting right on the Baltic Sea area. So it's more or less just a strategic position they can actually use. It's more or less a forward operating base to hit other NATO countries, essentially is the best way to put it. They had 1,000 military personnel and more than 60 military equipment units involved in this event. They had 20 Su-27 fighters and Su-24s, frontline naval aviation bombers conducting planned combat training overnight. They were simulating attacks on low-speed and air-ground targets. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister warned that European countries against any potential action against the Russian exclave, which is that area right there, saying that they would be playing with fire. I know. It's a lot of new stuff. So here's the very last one. So we're going to end it on this piece. So I'm guessing it's somewhat a little bit strange. This video is actually coming from Shanghai. This is really weird. Not really a lot to do with this conflict or a lot of the world stuff, but they've just been under lockdown for the last week or so. I guess they're forcing the entire city not to leave their apartments, and I feel really bad for those people. I really do. But here is that video. And yes, those people are literally screaming from their apartments. I don't know what they're saying because they're speaking in Chinese, but just I could not imagine what they're going through to be stuck inside of their apartment for the last week on another lockdown. That really does suck. I really kind of forget that some parts of the world are really going through that, because here, where I live in Texas, we haven't had nothing's really changed. It's just so strange to me. Anyway. So more video footage has been coming out of the destruction that's been occurred in the area of Bucha. So Bucha, we know that, this is going to come out. Like, we wanted to see some of this, and now a lot of here. So here's a video what it looks like on the ground there currently.
This is in Bucha, again on the map. If you don't know where Bucha is. Bucha and Irpin, satellite cities to the northwest. This is a lot of viral images coming out of Bucha of genocide taking place there. Did I ever score an interview with Rob? I haven't asked him. I mean, we've exchanged messages and ideas, but I mean, I haven't asked him. I'm sure maybe that could be a thing in the future.
So new bodies have also been discovered in a church village outside of Chernihiv. The bodies have indications that they were actually tortured prior to being killed. So this is one of the things that I think, I cannot believe I'm even having to say out loud in 2022 right now that this is something that is, I don't know, maybe they thought they were going to be able to hide it because they thought they were going to be able to take over the entire country and that it wasn't going to be something that we're going to be able to like smother. You know what I mean? Because maybe they wasn't going to be able to get out. But now that they actually retreated from these areas, all this stuff keeps coming out and it just looks terrible. It's so bad for me to even say this. Like some of the stuff I'm about to talk about. So Russian army actually fired missiles toward Kramatorsk and hit a local railway station, killing at least 50 civilians as a result. And here's actually the launch video of that. So here is where that was. So here is the eastern side of the country where the major portion of this conflict is going to happen. I told you guys, I looked at the actual casualties this morning. I think it was about 19,100 Russian troops have been KIA so far, and or just a casualty in general of this conflict. And I think this area right here, I have no problem saying that I could see them taking 20,000 casualties just in this one area right here. Now, I know that sounds really crazy for me to say since this is just one portion of the country. But if you're looking at this map, look how heavily fortified the Ukrainian positions are. It's going to be very difficult for them to get in. Now, they hit this train station that's inside of Kramatorsk right there, but Sloviansk, I think, is going to be the #1 area for the Russians to go after, which they've already tried to push through. There's actually been a counter-assault by the Ukrainian forces over the last 2 days down here in the southern half of Izium, which they're still doing it. Matter of fact, these images you guys are currently seeing are of Russian troops set up in defensive positions in the southern side of Izium in the town of Tobolevsky, which is just right here, which I just actually added. See this little tiny sliver I added? So that added sliver right there is from where the images are being shown for you guys. This is even more crazy. It makes the Russians look even worse. It was failed to explode or it has been shot down. Either or. And to come to find out that the Russian military actually spray painted on the side of this thing, which here's the image of that, literally on the side of this son of a gun, it says 4 children on the side of it. On the side of it. This is one of those kind of things where they might have done it as a joke. Like back in Vietnam, they would spray paint on World War II. We would spray paint stuff like Good Luck Hitler or Happy Easter Hitler and stuff like that. But a little different. I mean, it's not saying 4 children. It's for Hitler, for God's sakes. And maybe they were expecting this thing to go off and it didn't. And now it's coming out that it just looks terrible. And Russian troops. This one I had to actually do a little research on because I thought it was fake. I really did. I thought it was extremely fake. So in Rubizhne, here's Rubizhne right there. I honestly thought that the footage you were seeing is about an attack that happened a week ago. We talked about that. And it's not. It's actually another confirmed attack on a chemical plant that is taking place. So here's that video.
Rubizhne.
They've been trying to push through there. The Russians have controlled the north side for a while. There's a counterattack currently going on the northwest side of the city. I still have it annotated on here because it's still happening. A lot of this area, there's been some extremely heavy fighting. And when I mean heavy fighting, is going to be roughly about here. I have actually a few areas I wanted to actually wait to show you guys. So these through here, the Russians are actually trying to push through in this area over here in Popsana, which is just right there. So you have these 2 areas. And then right here as well. There's extremely large amounts of heavy fighting happening along with down in Mariupol, which I have actually annotated what Mariupol looks like right now as close so I can get it to you guys. Also, right here, Volodar, extremely large amounts of heavy fighting there, and in Marnica, right there. These 2 areas down there in the south. So they're trying to find a way to push through. I thought they might be waiting till Mariupol's actually taken, but right now it looks like the Russians are trying to push through this area as of right now. So down in Mariupol, we have some videos I'm going to show you guys from down here. So Mariupol.
So 3 areas of conflict, or 3 areas to pay attention to that we've been tracking is in this region. This is the train station that was hit. In Kramatorsk, a little bit further south. Kramatorsk, Sloviansk, that's the city that Mirab believes that they want to take first, the Russian forces, because there's a lot of Russian troops in this region here to the east, to the slightly to the southeast of Kharkiv, but north of Luhansk and Donetsk. All right.
There has been some change, not to push through this area as of right now. So down in Mariupol, we have some videos I'm going to show you guys from down here. So Mariupol, there has been some change, not a ton, as you can see. I think this sliver is pretty much the only added thing I've been able to annotate and actually say yes for sure the Russians have taken it. But they have now reached the southern port in Mariupol and have captured Ukrainian defensive positions, which you guys will see inside of this video. They've also captured a coastal radar station inside of this area, which you'll see inside of this video. Ukraine has now charged the head of Mariupol occupation administration with high treason. So this is, I think, the third one, Charles? I think it's the third person so far in this conflict. The first one they put an end to. The second one was up in Rubizhne, and this is the third one. So yes, this is the third Ukrainian member who has been charged with high treason. The first one I actually think they put to death. This member was a city council and was pro-Kremlin party. He's now the mayor or whatever of Mariupol, which is nothing more than dust. He's taken sides with the Russians. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that the Ukrainian forces are not going to mount some sort of offensive on the eastern side of this country. And I'm going to say this right now. I might be going out on a limb, but I think that they're not going to stop at taking back the country that they held prior to 14. But I think they're going to go back after the entire portion that they lost in 2013 and 14 and stuff like that. Luhansk and
So get Luhansk, Donetsk, and Crimea?
all that entire area in Crimea. I think they're going to try to take it all back. I really do. I think they have everything on their side to actually do so. Russian Ministry of Defense.
What do you think? What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with Rob there? Let's put that poll in the chat. Do you guys think Ukraine will stop? Do you think we'll take back entire country? I'm going to put that in the poll. Yes. No.
This is also reported that they targeted, the Russians did. They came out and said this, a Maltese-flagged cargo vessel in the Azov Sea with artillery fire and suspected the vessel in attempting to help Azov in Mariupol. They later seized the vessel and brought it to port, which is nothing more than modern-day pirating. I mean, let's just be honest. And we're going to move a little bit west here, actually quite a bit west. There has not been a lot going on this line. Yes, there is some heavy fighting going on, but it's nothing more than a lot of artillery and just small arms fire. They're not making any advancements whatsoever. The Ukrainian forces are still pushing down in these southern side of Kryvyi Rih, right there. They are pushing down and taking a little bit of area, but I will say this, the Russians have done a counteroffensive through here and actually taken back this city, but they have not pushed any farther north. I think they're doing that mainly because you guys look at this route right here. Let me clean this up so you guys can see it. But you guys see that route that's right there where the road tees off? They are now in control of the main route that goes into the western side of Mykolaiv, which is a big deal. So the Russians do control that, but the Ukrainian forces are doing a counteroffensive pushing towards Kherson at this later day. So this is probably where the most heavy fighting is of the entire country, by the way, is right here. If you guys did not know that. Like, I know I talk about this area, but right now the Russian forces are currently staged. They're currently staged in multiple areas. We already know these a couple. I probably should annotate them and leave them on here, but roughly about right here, and there's a very large force right here. Now, they're currently staged. I keep saying this. We haven't seen the kind of destruction we're going to see over the next couple of weeks since World War II. This area right here. I'm telling you right now, this whole area is going to be bad. It's going to resemble World War II. So we're going to end this video with what looks to be a $500 car with a couple of in-laws, I believe, strapped to the roof, and only the Russians could pull this off. And I don't know. Weird world we live in. I'll see you guys here tomorrow with another episode. I love you. I'm out.
What the heck? The Javelin's on the top. All right, let's do a viewer check-in really quick. Welcome everybody to Mercado Media. I'm your host, Andrew Mercado. Comment in the chat where you're tuning in from, what city, what state, where in the world. Shout out where your city, where you guys watching from. I'm streaming live from Minnesota, from the Twin Cities. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I was active duty, then I served in the Army Reserves. Spent some time finding jobs, and now I'm an independent journalist. Many of you guys might know me from the riots in Minneapolis or Kenosha, Wisconsin. I traveled to Portland, Oregon. I traveled to Seattle. So I've done plenty of my own journalism in person. and I will continue to do that this year as the election season comes back around here in the United States. I've traveled, I went to Iowa in 2020 when the derecho storm came through and there was devastation through Iowa, and I just documented the damage. So if you guys are tuned in here for Ukraine, you're going to get plenty of other coverage as well that I will be there myself to provide. So independent news media, again, viewer sponsored, viewer supported. I don't have any sponsors other than y'all, the viewers. To those that are members, supporters, send in stars, super chats, and thank you guys all so much. We got Saline, Michigan tuned in. Grand Lake, Oklahoma, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much. We got Gurokesville, Alberta. Hi, Tacoma, Washington. How you doing? Hello, Andrew from Wanaka, New Zealand. Charlottesville, Virginia. Brainerd, Minnesota, originally South Minneapolis. House by the River in Springfield, California. Hello, Albany, Oregon. Hello, Andy Mercado from New Mexico. How are you doing? Another thing, y'all, I keep forgetting to have you guys follow this every stream. I'm getting better at remembering, but my Instagram, I do more personal live streams and talk one-on-one there. I'm going to be doing that more often, especially next week. But follow me on Instagram, the Guru Merc, same username as Twitter. All right, follow me. Do I have a P.O. box? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's on the home page, or just message the Facebook page, or hit us up on Twitter. Message the Mercado Media Twitter account. Then we'll answer. We'll message you back. Give you the information you need. Any questions you guys have that aren't being answered, feel free to DM Mercado Media on Twitter. We have an amazing social media management team, moderators that help answer messages. So we'll answer your guys' questions, any questions that you do have. We got End Oklahoma, Mississippi's tuned in. Welcome. Get down. How you doing? Kansas, Arlington, Texas is tuned in. Hello from Little Diomede Island. Would you please let me know if you're, what is that? Fort Lauderdale, Florida is tuned in. Following on all platforms. Make sure, again, you guys are following, you're subscribed. All right, let's hop back into it. The big event from the day. Oh, actually, hold on. I'll just read the overview from the day, and then we'll go back and I'll show you guys the biggest event, which was Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister from the United Kingdom, visiting in Kyiv today. He visited Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. So here's some of the updates from the day. United Kingdom imposed sanctions on families of Putin, Lavrov, British assets of Vladimir Putin's alleged daughters Katerina Tikhonova and Maria Vorontsova, as well as the possessions of Sergey Lavrov's daughter Yekaterina Vinokurova, are frozen. They are banned from entering the United Kingdom. Luhansk Oblast Governor. Russian troops hit nitric acid tanks in Rubizhne again. Governor Serhiy Haidai urged residents of the region not to leave their bomb shelters and to close the windows and doors. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson met with President Zelensky in Kyiv today. The Prime Minister called new package announced a testament of United Kingdom's commitment to Ukraine's struggle against, quote, against Russia's barbaric campaign, end quote. The aid includes Starstreak air defense systems, the NLAW anti-tank missiles, and Javelin anti-tank systems and other weapons. Governor of Kursk region says the border checkpoint near Elitsilova village was shelled with mortars. 26 Ukrainian prisoner of war released in new exchange. Deputy Prime Minister Ernia Vereshchuk said that they included 12 soldiers and 14 civilians, but she didn't disclose the number of prisoners of war sent back to Russia. It is the third prisoner exchange since February 24th. Now let's take a look and see what Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, looked like visiting President Zelensky.
Привіт.
Remont is a watch.
Yes, remont is to, remont the watch. Yes, yes.
The crows.
Я такий радий, Борис, forever Great Britain. Все це капець, який я радий. Скажи, що ми вдячні будемо до кінця свого життя.
He said, Boris, that thank you.
Дякую.
Нажмі, дивіться. Борис. Я радий, я такий радий вас бачити. Я люблю Британію. Вона рятувала нас. І я, мої діти, мої внуки будемо про це пам'ятати. Це буде жити крізь століття, ці спогади. Ви нам дуже потрібні. Всі це знають.
It's nice to meet you, and it's been our privilege to help you have a remarkable president, Mr. Zelensky, who's done an outstanding job, and we simply wish to keep supporting the people of Ukraine for as long as it takes.
Дякую, Борис. Я ніколи в житті не мріяв вас зустріти. Це найкраща зустріч в моєму житті.
Добрый день.
Майдан.
All right, and then now here's the second video. Boris Johnson walking through the streets of Kyiv.
I think he was.
Я купила для друзей из Польши вот таких петушков, они были на Бородянке на шкафчике стояли, вот такие вот петушки остались, да, я хотела бы их подарить.
I'm from London.
No, I'm from Kharkiv. No, so sorry.
Thank you very much. Is it for wine or for water? For two cockerels. Thank you.
He laughs. Boris is just so, he laughs. He's like two cockerel laughs. For wine or for water?
For two cockerels. Very much. Is it for wine or for water?
Yeah, I'm from London.
Такие вот петушки остались, да, я хотела бы их подарить.
I'm from London.
Boris. But good show, though. Good show of solidarity with Ukraine from the United Kingdom, regardless how you feel about Boris. Here's the video from his official Twitter account.
To see quite a lot of your beautiful country. And it's an amazing country. I've also will rise again, thanks above all to the heroism, the courage of the people of Ukraine. Thank you very much, and Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
Okay, so again, that's coming straight from Boris Johnson's Twitter account. Here is video. Reporters from Kyiv Independent who went to Chernihiv, a regional capital in northern Ukraine that was besieged for 21 days while being heavily bombarded. Who is this? The journalist Oleksiy Sorokin speaking from the sites of Russian attacks in Chernihiv. Again, Chernihiv is the city to the northeast of Kyiv. Chernihiv is up here. I was concerned early on in the war that this is when that Russia would take this city. I saw them take Kherson in real time. We watched this. And if you guys have been tuned into our platform, and we unfortunately watched the Russian military take this city live, and they were stationed on that road, and then we watched them move in for hours one night. It was at like 3 a.m. But I was also concerned of them taking Chernihiv because of the Russian advance and then where they were located. But as you guys can see on our war map, they're expelled from this area. All their forces have been pushed east. Here's a video update from the Kyiv Independent. Chernihiv, Ukraine's northernmost regional capital, was among the first cities hit during Russia's full-scale invasion.
We're now in Chernihiv, a regional capital northeast of Kiev.
Now, live feeds let's see, really quick. I think Zabby has shout out Zabby. I think Zabby has a Kharkiv camera. Would we at Donetsk, Kharkiv, Dnipro, Kyiv City? There's a Kyiv City camera now. Interesting, but there's not like there was. It's different times now. All right, back into Chernihiv. Sorry, I missed that text. According to Mayor Vladislav Atroshenko, 700 people were killed in Chernihiv during the siege.
This is the stadium of a local team, Desna, which played in Ukraine's top division. The stadium was hit with an airstrike. According to the regional administration, the stadium can't be repaired.
I know, right, Natalie? For real. The cleanup. You're the good boy.
We're here in Novosilivka, a suburb of Chernihiv, where it looks like every house was destroyed. The people we were able to talk to told us that for 21 days, Russia bombed this area. Many had died. Here, a family lived, a mother, a father, and 2 children. They fled to Chernihiv, and then when they came back, their house was ruined.
So, a story out of Chernihiv. As you can see the latest. It is now 7 a.m. The sun has risen on the 46th day of the Russian invasion. Wow, 46th day. The 46th day, what is it? It would be 7:09 in the morning now. So, the sun has risen. The 46th day. Can you believe it? In London on Saturday, people went out to protest against the war, another die-in protest. I saw a comment earlier that asked me what a die-in is. It's where you go and, it's a staged death, or like you take space and then you're dead there. So a form of activism, one of the forms of protest in the United Kingdom. And all right, we've been here for 46 days. What do we got here? One of the liberated villages, a dog found Ukrainian soldiers and brought them. Oh, wow. This is a good video. In one of the liberated villages, a dog found Ukrainian soldiers and brought them into the house to their puppies to be fed. Wow.
На.
Let's feed them some
попробуй.
Dog had to make sure their puppies were fed.
Ой, голодні.
Банда.
Чуєш, вона, коротше, бігала за нами, поняв? І просила, щоб сюди ми її завели покормити малих, прикинь. І бачив мене. Вона ще там на тій вулиці біжить, така, коротше, хвостиком віляє і веде нас. І привела, коротше, до цих цуценят. Вона розумна собака, капець.
Ого.
Big piece. One more time. Again, this video here is one of the liberated villages. A dog found Ukrainian soldiers. So the big dog found soldiers and brought them to their puppies to be fed.
На. Ножиком попробуй.
They were liking the broth.
Голодні.
Банда.
Чуєш, вона, коротше, бігала за нами, поняв?
Well, the thing is, these are probably domesticated dogs. Like, they're like somebody's pets. They're not like stray dogs or like like this is somebody's house. These were somebody's dogs.
І просила, щоб сюди ми
So they're like trained, house trained.
її завели покормити малих, прикинь. І бачив мене. Вона ще там на тій вулиці біжить, така, коротше, хвостиком віляє і веде нас. І привела, коротше, до цих цуценят. Вона розумна собака, капець.
You got a big piece. All right. Hey, thank you so much for that, Nancy. Thank you, Nancy. All right. Keep going down the list. Local activists held to support, and they were taken away in Kazakhstan. If you missed this, they were activists. I do believe this was the day prior, though. This page just uploaded this video, but I do think it's a day-old video now. But in any regard, this was at the Russian consulate in Almaty, Kazakhstan, and the activists being taken away by the police. All right. Chechen fighters firing wildly in Mariupol. So just shooting out windows. Oops, a little loud. These are Chechen fighters, again, the city of Mariupol down here. There are other regiments and units beyond the Azov Battalion down here. Keep that in mind. And also now, I think after we watch this, will be the good time to watch the Azov Battalion video, the newest one that I found. So Chechen forces fighting wildly in Mariupol.
One of Putin's...
So, all right, this is the Azov Battalion and Ukraine's far right explained. We've had so many people come into the chat and been wanting to talk about this, and it's important not to shy away from it, because you shy away from it, then it's just gonna push people into the propaganda lane further. Now, to precede this, I mean, Russia made it out to seem as if the entire Ukrainian government is Nazified, and that the invasion was to denazify Ukraine, which we know is complete garbage. We know that all of Russia's reasonings for invasion is garbage, and the real reasoning is a land grab to reunite the Soviet Union. Been covering it for 46 days, but it is still important, and you guys need to have a safety meeting to just clear your mind or whatever you need to do, because as much as we've been covering this now, again, for going almost 50 days, this is still an important piece of it, okay? And it's something to think about for the future. Now, right now, you know, it's the defense of Ukraine, and that's what it is. Russia's full-on invasion of the country, and that unit is one of the units being used to defend the country. Now, this video is going to go into, I mean, it's the most unbiased look at this that I've seen in discussion, and so that's why I want to play it for you guys, that we're going to be going through. All right, so have an open mind. We'll check it out. It's going to explain the Azov Battalion and Ukraine's far right, because it's like a taboo to talk about this for some reason, whatever. And it's a taboo because of the propaganda that Russia used, as if all of Ukraine is the Azov Battalion. Okay, and that's not true. It's not true at all. But this video is going to go into it in the most unbiased way I've seen about the topic. Okay, here we go. Bring it on. Have an open mind. That's all I ask.
Pretext for invading Ukraine was to denazify the country. That's nonsense. Ukraine's president is a moderate and a Jew, and the far right got 2% at the last election. But just because Putin's justification for his illegal invasion was just that, bogus, we shouldn't be afraid to talk about the far right in Ukraine. If we suppress inconvenient facts, that will only make people more liable to believe Putin's propaganda. And just as important, as this war continues, it will have effects beyond Ukraine. People across Europe are going to fight against Russia. We need to consider what might be motivating them and what groups they'll be fighting alongside. That applies even if the ultimate cause of defending Ukraine against an illegal invasion is a just one. We're going to get to the big players in a moment, in particular the Azov Battalion. But first, let's start with some history. In the Second World War, most Ukrainians fought with the Red Army against the Nazis, but an influential group of nationalists collaborated with Hitler, including by organizing pogroms against Jews. A leading figure in that movement was the fascist Stepan Bandera. Bandera, by the end of the war, would go on to fight for the independence of Ukraine from both the Soviet Union and the Nazis. And for that reason, in 2010, he was posthumously granted the title Hero of Ukraine by then President Viktor Yushchenko. It was a decision condemned by anti-fascist groups and the European Parliament, and Bandera would ultimately be stripped of the title in 2011 by Yushchenko's successor, Viktor Yanukovych. Now let's fast forward to 2013, 2014 and the Euromaidan protests. These were sparked by the decision of President Yanukovych to abandon a trade deal with the EU in favor of one with Russia. Euromaidan, which was a genuinely popular movement, brought thousands of Ukrainians to Kyiv's Maidan Square. They gathered to demonstrate their opposition to Yanukovych's decision and their own support for closer relations.
Listen to how he's very good at breaking this down.
Which was a genuinely popular movement.
It was a genuinely popular movement. Russia wants to make it out to seem as if it was like a NATO or United States amped proxy movement, but it was a genuine movement in Maidan.
Thousands of Ukrainians to Kyiv's Maidan Square. They gathered to demonstrate their opposition to Yanukovych's decision and their own support for closer relations with the EU. The demonstrators also attacked the rampant corruption prevalent among Ukraine's ruling class. Tent cities were erected and there were concerts and food stalls. But as time went on, the demonstrations got increasingly violent. This took the form of heavy-handed policing, the kind we're used to seeing across much of the West. But there were also significant street battles between protesters and police, and the hostilities would end in tragedy. Between January and February, 108 protesters and 13 police officers were shot dead. The deadliest night was the 20th of February, when 45 protesters and 4 police were killed. Yanukovych would flee the country 2 days later. Significantly, who instigated the shooting remains contested. The pro-Maidan government, which replaced Yanukovych, blamed units of the police. Others have suggested that far-right snipers in buildings controlled by anti-government forces shot both police and protesters to escalate events.
You got 2 narratives of the event to deal with. 2 narratives of that coming out.
Anti-government forces shot both police and protesters to escalate events. 9 years later, it remains unsolved.
Unsolved. They have not solved that yet, 9 years later.
What is clear, though, is that far-right elements, even though they were a minority, did have a role in the Euromaidan movement. These flags were seen at the protests. They bear the symbol of Svoboda, an ultranationalist far-right party founded in 1995. After the Maidan revolution, it went on to briefly control 4 ministries in the new government. This is C14, also known as S14, a neo-Nazi nationalist group which began as the youth wing of Svoboda. It's known for its homophobic and anti-Roma attacks in Ukraine. In 2018, the US State Department recognized C4 as a hate group. Also spotted in the Maidan were plenty of these flags. They belong to Right Sector, another far-right paramilitary group formed in 2013 from an alliance of pre-existing nationalist groups. In 2014, it also sprouted a political party. Here, a young member explains his political views.
Национал-социалистская тематика иногда в некоторых людях она есть проступает. Чтобы была единая нация. Но не у всех это не заложено в основе этой организации, это у некоторых людей есть.
А у вас?
У меня лично есть.
В смысле? Объясните.
Мне нравится эта идея единой нации.
Угу.
Я хочу, чтобы нация была единая, чтобы один народ, одна страна, одна нация.
А это подразумевается что?
Чтобы чистая нация. Не то, что там, у Гитлера как было. В своем роде немножко, маленько, но было, чтобы своя нация.
Right Sector would go on to be accused of involvement in a massacre. The context here, after the removal of Yanukovych following the Maidan protests, counter-protests emerged in pro-Russian eastern Ukraine. The largest of these were in Odessa, where on the 2nd of May 2014, street battles between pro-Russian and pro-Maidan groups would end in tragedy. Surrounded by a mass of pro-Maidan protesters, anti-Maidan activists sought shelter in Odessa's trade union's house. Soon, it was in flames. It's not clear how the building was set alight, as both sides were throwing Molotov cocktails, but a large number of pro-Russian protesters were trapped inside while the building burned. Some jumped to try and save themselves and were then beaten by pro-Maidan protesters. At the time, the New York Times reported this. As the building burned, Ukrainian activists sang the Ukrainian national anthem. Witnesses on both sides said. They also hurled a new taunt. Colorado, for the Colorado potato beetle, striped red and black like the pro-Russian ribbons. Those outside chanted, "Burn, Colorado, burn," witnesses said. Swastika-like symbols were spray-painted on the building, along with graffiti reading Galician SS, though it was unclear when it had appeared or who had painted it. In the end, 42 anti-Maidan activists were killed in the fire. 9 years later, no one has been successfully prosecuted. Again, we should be clear, we're not describing these events and groups to suggest that the far right has mass support in Ukraine. Svoboda only has 1 seat in the Ukrainian parliament, while the right sector has none.
Reiterate that one more time for anybody that's don't know what to do right now. Listen.
And we should be clear, we're not describing these events and groups to suggest that the far right has mass support in Ukraine.
Listen.
Svoboda only has 1 seat in the Ukrainian parliament, while the right sector has none.
None. They don't have any. They don't have any.
But Ukraine's far-right problem has less to do with the support they receive from the public and more the support they enjoy from the state. That includes from the courts. This is C14 leader Ivan Karas.
It's our general mission to totally ruin chains that connect our country with the imperial power from the past.
And that being Russia?
Yes, we can do Russia, not only Russia, Soviet Union.
Are you a Nazi?
No, I don't think I'm a Nazi. I'm a Ukrainian nationalist.
What does that mean?
The main confrontation is about that some ethnic groups have control many business structures, some economic, some political forces, and
which ethnic groups?
Russians and Jews and the Poles. It may be some non-Ukrainian group control a huge percent of some economic or political power. And of course, in this situation, Ukrainian people have some tension between it, and it causes conflicts.
Given what Karas said there, it might seem surprising that C14 won a 2019 libel case against a Ukrainian journalist who described them as neo-Nazis. The court ruled that to call them a neo-Nazi organisation harmed their reputation. The journalist had to pay damages. But when it comes to far-right impunity and the protection or toleration of fascist groups, no example is more profound than that of the Azov Battalion. The Azov Battalion was formed in Mariupol as a volunteer militia to take on pro-Russian separatists. Mariupol is in the east of Ukraine, in the region of Donetsk, whose capital had been taken over by pro-Russians. The Azov Battalion wanted to keep Mariupol Ukrainian, and the city was ultimately kept out of pro-Russian hands. This won Azov plaudits, and they were merged with the Ukrainian National Guard in November 2014.
So that would explain why that battalion, and again, there's multiple battalions, not just the Azov, that is in Mariupol, but that would explain why they're so heavily fighting in that city.
But make no mistake, integration into state structures does not mean Azov were just moderate professionals. These guys are really far right. Their insignia is the Wolf's Angel, an SS symbol used by the A division of the Nazi paramilitaries in Hitler's Third Reich. And the group was founded by this man, Andriy Beletsky. Beletsky's past statements include saying Ukraine's national mission was to lead the white races of the world in a final crusade against Semite-led Untermenschen. Untermenschen means subhumans. Zelensky would resign as commander of the Azov Battalion in September 2014 after successfully standing for parliament, but Azov would continue to grow. They produce flashy recruitment videos like this.
Але цього вимагає наша мета, наша робота, наше покликання. Щомиті ми готові прийти до ворога зі своїми дарами смерті. Непомітно вийти з туману, знайти прихисток за стіною вогню. Кого важко вистежити, того неможливо зупинити. Ти можеш сам в цьому переконатися. Полк Азов. Приєднуйся.
And recruitment starts early. This is footage from a Guardian documentary on an Azov white pride tattooed on the back of someone's thighs. And besides fighting in eastern Ukraine and training kids to fight, Azov also runs the National Militia, a paramilitary group founded in 2017. This is footage of a national militia march in Kyiv in 2019. Hundreds of members turned out, parading through the streets before gathering for a speech from former Azov leader Beletsky. And while the national militia says its aim is to assist the police in maintaining civil order, they have often branched out into thuggery. This is from a 2018 Newsnight report following the national militia in Lviv.
We then go to a place where punters can gamble on computer terminals.
Listen, again, there's like two truths that people need to there's the chat's so confused right now, and I knew that this was going to happen, but this is important to talk about. Yes, Vladimir Putin's military is, as much as they're communist, they're very fascist-like, right? their actions and how they operate, and have almost blurred the line between extreme, like their tactics are very similar to like a far right fascist group. The line's being blurred. There's nuance. There's two truths in many things in life, or multiple truths. And people are uncomfortable when many things are true at the same time, because like it can ruin their perception of reality for some reason. Like it bends your understanding of reality, or like a comfort reality that you had. But it's still possible for two things to be true at once. It's true. It's possible, and it is true that Vladimir Putin's soldiers are very they're very similar to Nazis, far right Nazis, and that they're fighting a far right battalion. You know what I mean? Life, the war, it's complicated. It isn't just, there's nuance to everything. All right, it's not just black and white. You know, it makes it difficult to navigate it all, but this is all still true. All right.
We're told it's been operating illegally, as its owners allegedly have links to Russia. It's unspectacular stuff. The national militia call the police out, and reluctantly they appear and go through the motions. What the national militia want us to film is that they're a force for good, here to restore order and make the police do their job.
К сожалению, полиция не справляется со всеми проблемами, которые существуют в нашей стране. Естественно, мы, как патриоты Украины, возлагаем эти функции на себя.
It's a message that has some resonance. There's a growing despondency here about how little has changed. The next day, we're contacted by the company that owns the gambling shop. It turns out that many of their other branches have also been raided by the national militia.
Listen, there's one thing in the little amount of reporting that I've done in my own time in 2 years that I've seen just in the United States, is that in movements, infighting, and the extremists sections, like if it's far left or if it's far right, once they get into the middle ground, that where like things are starting to happen for a movement, or like for an ideology, for people that are more middle of the road, or for more people that aren't so extreme left or right, the far left and the far right will latch to try to bring as many people in as they can. And it's like in terms of what the extremists are supposedly fighting against, like they've almost blurred the lines between their ideologies, and it's like very extremist, and they're, as much as they're on the opposite ends of the political spectrum, their tactics and how they act are very similar. That's just what I've seen in my time. Extremism is not good. You go far, too much of one side, too much of the other side, and it's not good. Not good.
Где-то около часа дня к нам забежали группа молодых людей, человек 20-25.
This is the national militia when journalists aren't watching.
В масках, с молотками, с битами, в куртках с надписью «Национальная дружина». Они кричали «Слава Украине», еще там какие-то свои лозунги. Начали здесь все просто громить. Полная разруха. Все было побито абсолютно.
We're given other footage, which shows more places being trashed, men lighting fireworks indoors, even setting one location on fire. The national militia tell us they're working alongside the police, but they have also, on several occasions, fought them. Here they brawled and used pepper spray on officers as they tried and failed to pressure a judge into keeping an allegedly corrupt politician in custody.
And the Azov Battalion has an international status.
So they fought the law enforcement. They're like it's dude.
Corrupt politician in custody.
And the Azov
MOS was I was an 88 Mike truck driver.
Battalion has an international status. They explicitly seek to recruit foreign members from other far-right and nationalist groups in Europe and the US. That was explained in this excerpt from a 2021 Time investigation.
What worries officials in the West is Azov's recruitment strategy. It's tried hard to build friendships with far-right groups around the world, especially in the US and Europe. During my visit in 2019, I spent a day at one of the biggest recruitment events in Azov's history. Thousands of people showed up for a day of fighting sports and blatant propaganda. There were neo-Nazi symbols, tattoos, and posters all over the place. And many in the crowd seemed pretty receptive to Azov's far-right ideology.
Бути толерантним про ЛГБТшникам – це неприродне. Для цього треба людині промити мозги. Поважати своїх батьків, любити своїх дітей, пишатися за свою країну – це нормально.
Events like this also tend to attract recruits from abroad. One of the ones I met was named Robin, who had just arrived in Ukraine from Sweden, where he told me he's wanted for hate crimes.
This is hard to explain the surroundings for someone who's watching this, you know. It's surreal. It's like, I don't know, it's like something you read about the great Germany before, you know, in the 1920s. It's a revival of the Indo-European soul. And it's all happening here in Ukraine.
Also speaking to Time, Azov's head of international outreach explained their approach.
We basically recruited everyone who could hold weapons in their hand when the Ukrainian state was paralyzed and the defense of the Ukrainian state was totally in the hands of Ukrainian volunteers. So there were many war adventurers, guys who believed that they are on kind of ideological tour to save maybe the future of the West and so on and so forth. So
the future of the white race?
Or, yes, yes.
So why have Ukraine's political class accepted Azov as part of the state? In part, this has to do with friends in high places. For example, Azov had close connections to Arsen Avakov, who was Ukraine's interior minister from 2014 until last year. As a 2016 Open Democracy piece explains, their relationship to the politician dated back many years. 2005 to 2010 was a fruitful time for Patriot of Ukraine, the Kharkiv neo-Nazi group whose members later came to form Azov. With Avakov as governor of Kharkiv, this neo-Nazi group cooperated with the Kharkiv authorities and police. Their activities included monitoring illegal immigrants in the city's student hostels and raiding shopping kiosks whose owners were, by coincidence, not loyal to the local authorities' material interests. In February 2014, Avakov became interior minister and began to patronize Patriot of Ukraine, Azov and Beletsky himself. Indeed, Beletsky, after having been recognized as a political prisoner and released from prison, was given a rank in Avakov's home ministry. Meanwhile, an ally of Beletsky, Vadim Troyan, headed up the Interior Ministry Kyiv branch. Avakov has now left the scene, but it now seems likely that the war will strengthen Azov Battalion's hand. They've already cast themselves as playing a leading role in resistance to the Russians, and just this week, a commander of the Azov Battalion made this appeal.
My name is Denis Prokopenko. I'm a commander of the Azov Regiment. The defense of Mariupol has already been going for 12 days. We, Azov Regiment protectors of Mariupol, are successfully fortifying our combat task on the front line. The enemy has not entered the city. Being surrounded since March the 1st by the increasing amount of the enemy troops, our soldiers holding on the defense of an important strategical place, the forepost of the Sea of Azov. The strength of our fighters has been already admired by the whole world. Dedication of the warriors has been highly evaluated by Ukrainians as well as people outside the country. Today is the time for determined actions. The delay can cost more and more human lives, and the world, the Europe, will heal for centuries. Create a no-fly zone over Ukraine, support with the modern weapon, organize the humanitarian aid for the civil people. We from our side will provide the kinds of support of the international aid to protect Mariupol, its people. During the historical time, we need to stop the aggressor together, saving Mariupol, saving the Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine.
Worryingly, the framing of Azov as heroes, not just neo-Nazis who happen to be fighting on the right side, is being enabled by Western media. This is how Azov Battalion were described in a 2019 New York Times article. It says Azov is a Ukrainian neo-Nazi paramilitary organization. Now, this is from 2022. Azov are now apparently a unit of the Ukrainian National Guard that has drawn far-right fighters from around the world. It doesn't mention that the reason neo-Nazis are attracted to Azov is because it's led by neo-Nazis. The change also applies to the big tech companies. According to a report from The Intercept, after the war on Ukraine was launched, Facebook changed its policy to now allow praise of the Azov Battalion so long as it's fighting the Russian invasion.
That was true. That did happen.
Aaron, I want your take on this. I know
still doesn't justify anything. Again, none of this. I hope the background underlying understanding is that none of this justifies full-scale invasion of Ukraine. None of this. It's a fucked situation that what, like, the question that I guess I have for you guys is, what does Ukraine do with this battalion afterwards? Because they're not good. They're not good. They're fighting to prevent Russia taking over the country. So like Ukraine is using them for military reasons, but they're not a good organization at all. And it's okay to say that. It's two truths. One, Ukraine needs their independence and they deserve to be an independent country, and they don't deserve the full-scale invasion that Vladimir Putin has pumped lies about the justification for doing so. And also, this Azov Battalion is going to be a problem for Ukraine. This Azov Battalion will be a problem for Ukraine in the future. I know, I just...
On the same page, Putin's invasion of Ukraine is brutal and criminal. His so-called denazification plan is pure propaganda. But given that, does it still worry you that discussing the actual far-right problem has become a bit of a taboo?
Yeah. And it is a major problem, Michael. I think in 2010, the former president, Yushchenko, awarded to Stepan Bandera, who was a fascist, Hero of Ukraine award. So this is a national ideology, an allegedly center-right politician saying that a neo-Nazi, somebody who collaborated with the Wehrmacht and the SS, is welcome in modern Ukraine. And if you raise this now, of course, Putin's puppet. Listen, when you've got ultra-nationalist ideology, it's been around for 80 years in this country. It's going to be around for another 80 years. These are the last people we should be arming. I know that's probably not a particularly popular take on Twitter right now, but it's true. You know, in the Second World War, you had about the numbers aren't entirely precise, but you're looking at tens of thousands of people from Galicia and West Ukraine enlisted with the SS to fight against the USSR. Tens of thousands of people. Like I say, you've got Bandera, who was an ultra-nationalist fascist leader, a member of the OUN, or I think it's called the OUN, which was a Nazi organization in Ukraine. And these are his modern-day descendants, and we're arming them. We are arming them, and they are a major part of Ukrainian civil society. Now, what's interesting, Michael, you mentioned Svoboda. In 2012, I believe they got something like 10% in the elections there, which is obviously significant. But it's not Jobbik at their peak in Hungary, for instance, which was, towards 20%. Similar kind of politics, similar, extreme right. The right of Fidesz in Ukraine, Jobbik, Same here. Svoboda, extremely right-wing. And they've fallen away since. And if you look at the sort of political trajectory in Ukraine since 2004, since the Color Revolution, you get Yushchenko comes to power. He's our guy. What happens in the following election? I think he gets 5% because he fails to address the fundamental problems of the Ukrainian economy. We've seen depopulation. We've seen economic stagnation. A Ukrainian today is expected to have a life expectancy the same as it was in the 1960s, which is really extraordinary. I think you've seen the country's population contract by about 8 to 10 million since the 1990s. These aren't really statistics which apply to any other European country, which is why you see this political crisis after the mid-2000s. Ukrainians, quite rightly and understandably, want something better. They turn to Yushchenko. He doesn't change anything. He subsequently gets 5% in an election. Then you get the election of Yanukovych. Of course, he's removed in the Maidan protests. You can say what you want, but that's not democratic. It's not a democratic way to remove a leader. A democracy is the peaceful transition of political power from one holder of office to another. That's not democratic. He's then replaced by Poroshenko, who in the following election only gets, I think, 25% of the vote. He loses, of course, to the incumbent Zelensky. So what that tells you is whoever comes into power in Ukraine prior to Zelensky in this awful situation he finds himself in, they offer solutions to the country's massive economic, political, social problems, and they're boosted out pretty quickly because they appear to be intractable. And into those conditions, Michael, depopulation, stagnant living standards, life expectancy, just really comparative to other European countries, kind of falling off a cliff. Those are the kinds of conditions in which the far right grows, let alone one which has got such historical roots like it does in Ukraine. And we're arming it. I think we're storing up massive, massive problems on the border of Europe, and we'll feel the consequence of those in 10, 20, 30 years' time. I could be wrong, and I really hope I am. But when you see Hillary Clinton say, well, look, in Afghanistan, we bled the Russians dry by arming the Mujahideen, that didn't really turn out well, did it, in the long term? So this could be history repeating itself a little bit. There are really very few instances of arming neo-Nazis and there not being negative consequences. And again, to use the historical parallels, we've been here before with NATO and the European/Atlantic defense establishment. In Italy, after the Second World War, there was a very powerful communist and socialist parties. Actually, in 1948, they came together. They wanted to win that election in 1948. You saw the United States inject millions of pounds funding right-wing and centrist parties in the 1948 election. You saw extraordinary propaganda efforts from the United States. Of course, the following year, Italy joins NATO. And what you have is the creation of these stay-behind networks. I did another Twitter thread on this actually earlier today, which are basically, if this country ever becomes a communist country, whether it's invaded by Russia or by democratic means, these stay-behind networks will effectively operate as a resistance network, a people's militia to make it ungovernable. But what do they do, Michael, over the next several decades, these stay-behind networks? Well, what they do is they subvert, undermine, toxify democratic politics within Italy to the extent where they're actually undertaking terrorist activities. They're blowing people up and murdering people, Michael, in what was called the strategy of tension to undermine democratic politics. And in the hope, which was ultimately vindicated, that the Italian population would turn away from left-wing socialist ideas and want a stronger central Italian authority in the form of the state, to embrace a stronger security apparatus and to turn away from trade union activism, the Socialist Party, and particularly the PCI, the Communist Party. So this idea that you can embrace neo-Nazis in a broader anti-left sort of coalition, if you're talking about democratic body politic and civil society in Ukraine 10, 20, 30 years from now, I think this is really going to hurt it, really going to hurt it. And is the future of Ukrainian nationalism a civic nationalism or an ethno-nationalism? I mean, that's up for grabs, by the way, Michael. And again, that's not me being a puppet of Putin. That's the objective situation. You have highly embedded neo-Nazi interests, groups, individuals within the Ukrainian state apparatus. To the extent that, like you say, they can lose elections, it doesn't really matter because they've got street mobs and they've got people embedded within the military. That's pretty bad, and it can do quite a lot.
I think we've got a couple of disagreements there, which I'm going to go back to in a moment. First of all, there was just a comment that really stood out to me that I want to address, which says pure propaganda, but also a very real problem. I can see what you're saying there. Is it inconsistent that we've said what Putin was saying was pure propaganda, but also far-right movements are a real problem in Ukraine? And the reason I say that's consistent is Vladimir Putin is not saying, you wouldn't, invading a country to rid it of a far-right movement doesn't make any sense anyway. What he was saying is that the government of Ukraine is a Nazi government made up of drug addicts. And so his war of aggression is therefore justified because that's his aim. That's not his aim. And Ukraine doesn't need, the Ukraine government isn't a Nazi government. For various historical reasons, there is a very worrying and problematic influence that far-right groups have in Ukraine. That's partly because it's been a weak state for a while. The history of that country is slightly different. It's not the same as in Germany, where the Nazis were defeated, and then you had a genuine denazification program in Germany after the Second World War. Some parts of Ukraine, it was sort of like we were part of the Soviet Union, we were part of that movement, especially in Western Ukraine. Your experience of the Soviet Union was essentially being, was as empire. None of this enables you to call Ukraine a Nazi country, essentially. And one thing Putin is definitely not trying to do is denazify that country. In fact, this war is only going to empower them, as Aaron has been talking about. There's a thing I wanted to potentially push back on, Aaron. You sort of said that means these are the last people we want to be arming. But who are you talking about then? Are you talking specifically about Azov, or are you talking about the whole Ukrainian army and Ukrainian resistance?
No, the Azov Battalion. And I think
very specifically the Azov Battalion. Like, this is seriously the best dialogue and conversation around the topic that I found on the internet thus far. Very, very open and honest dialogue, because it's still a dialogue to be had, regardless how you feel. And it's very much so, and I'm telling you guys, even from my perspective, that the reasoning and justifications that Vladimir Putin gave to invade Ukraine is bullshit. It's complete bullshit. But at the same time, it is still important to to keep an eye on who were the extremist groups that were bolstering. So it's like multiple truths going on at once. It's like, yes, Ukraine needs the battalion, that far-right battalion, to help defend its city, and they're one of the major reasons why Mariupol has not been taken, right? And then at the same time, in the future, because people that are forward thinkers in life, I don't have it out here, forward thinkers are like, that is also a problem. You got to be able to have multiple thoughts at once. Not many people have that ability to do so. They let their emotions get in the way, and then it prevents them from having multiple dialogues within at the same time and doing multiple things. All right.
Azov, or are you talking about the whole Ukrainian army and Ukrainian resistance?
No, the Azov Battalion. And I think the United States and the UK and other countries should be saying, look, we need to build up the domestic military capabilities of Ukraine. Clearly, I think that's an entirely fair thing to do.
Yeah.
But you obviously need some checks and balances. You know,
like, what's wrong with that's for sure. That there's nothing wrong with what they're saying at all, in my opinion.
The Azov Battalion they're far right extremists. They're neo-Nazis, and I think if you're actually serious about building a long-term state infrastructure within Ukraine, you don't deal with those people, because they're a faction within the state. They view themselves as they're trying to perpetuate a revolution through and within the state. You saw that guy there from Sweden say, "Oh my God, this is like 1920s Germany." It's a pure microcosm, of course, Michael. But they do have a revolutionary theory of change, which is creating this new world in the shell of the old. I don't buy horseshoe theory, the idea that left and right are the same, but this is an example of it. These people do not have an interest, Michael, in building a multicultural, liberal Ukraine where the rule of law applies to all. They are not interested in that. And so I think giving those people arms and making them a fundamental part of the Ukrainian state apparatus, I think is quite dangerous. Because even with Italy, we never did that. You did it informally, and you were saying in Germany there was denazification. There was to an extent, Michael, but actually a lot of Nazis were still integrated within the German post-war structure. And hey, Werner von Braun, he was working for NASA.
Werner von Braun, one of the biggest. What did he work on, the V3 rocket for the Nazis? And then he worked for NASA afterwards,
building the Saturn V rocket. And Kurt Waldheim went to the United Nations. So it wasn't entirely denazified, but there was significant denazification, certainly. What you're seeing here is something quite new. And the only sort of analog I can think of is with Spain. People say, well, what happened with Operation Gladio in Spain? And people say, well, the Spanish government was Gladio. That's what you have with Francoism. And that's what the Azov Battalion would like to see in Ukraine. Now, I'm sure we can have a debate around that. And of course, right now they're fighting a defensive war. They're calling it a patriotic war. I think that's precisely what it is. A defensive war against a far more powerful hostile actor. And I think the best argument to me is, well, you have to live in the real world. These are the people that are best situated to fight. They know what they're doing. They're effective soldiers, et cetera, et cetera. That's a good counter argument. But believe me, that's going to hurt you in the long term. That's going to hurt you in the long term. If you want a Ukraine that's built on the rule of law and equality under the law and civil liberties, and you want them in the European Union, you don't want these people in the state apparatus, believe me.
What's wrong with that point? I agree with that point at the end too. Like, if you want Ukraine in the European Union and then in NATO and the UN, you can't have those people having representation at all. As much as they are fighting a defensive war for Ukraine. What a nuanced situation, though. What a complex, nuanced situation that doesn't just black and white. And when I say there is like one truth, but there's multiple truths within the truth. You got to find it. You got to do the work to try to get there. And I don't even like to say like facts even anymore. Like facts. It's like relevant and accurate information, because as things change and update, information and things can change. There's one thing that I've learned in the military is that information is fluid. You have to be able to react to that and then be able to work with the new information. I found that most actually, not few, most people, especially in the United States, do not have this ability. They cannot do multiple things at once. It's one thing, and if they can't do the one thing, then it's a major problem for that individual. It's just how it is. But the military has provided me ability to be able to work out multiple things and receive information and understand that it changes. It does change over time. So thank you guys so much for watching that, and that was probably the most unbiased look at that talking point and understanding the far right that does exist in Ukraine that I've found. So if you guys are looking for that video to watch in your own time, I posted it in our Discord, but it's also from Novara Media, the Azov Battalion in Ukraine's far right explained. All right. No, not done yet. We're still going for about another 20 minutes. So I'm going to refresh the latest. We have a Ukraine siren alert in the Cherkasy Oblast. All right. 7:55 in the morning. 7:55 in the morning. Let's look at, we are on our list. What's that? Siren alerts in the Kharkiv Oblast, and Dnipro, and Zaporizhia, and Cherkasy. All right. So we got siren alarms going off. Somewhere along the Kherson front line, our boys are telling the Russians that if they surrender, they will be fed and clothed. They continue to humiliate the invader and having a jolly good time with it. So they're on like a loudspeaker yelling at in the Kherson front line. Our boys are telling the Russians that if they surrender, they will be fed and clothed. So that's on the Kherson front line. That's over here. So let's get away from Mariupol. It's over here. Ukrainian forces likely looking to make a push to try to... I mean, that would be a major win for Ukraine to take back Kherson. Let's keep going here. Breaking, Russian Colonel Alexander Besplov, the commander of the 59th Guards Tank Regiment, was killed by Ukrainian Defense Forces. So Russian Colonel Alexander Besplov was killed today. Ukraine loses its 9th Russian colonel. They have lost, what, 8 generals? Or, yeah, Russia's lost 8 generals. 7? Man, who would want to be a high officer in that military? Seems like a guaranteed death. It's like wild that their colonels and generals are dying like that. Let's keep going. Thousands of Bibles burned in Irpin, reportedly by the Russian army. Interesting. Bibles burned. There was a die-in in London on Sunday. People went out to protest against the war in the Ukraine. So this was in the UK protests. And then here, let's go to the biggest event of the day, which was United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson visiting. And this will be towards this is like the ending of the stream. We're about 15 minutes towards the end. We've gone through all the clips today and all the happenings, but if you've missed it, this is Boris Johnson visiting Kyiv with President Zelensky. This was a very big event today. Ursula von der Leyen visited the day before, and she's the president of the European Union. So this is Prime Minister Boris Johnson from the United Kingdom.
Привіт.
Remont is of what?
Yes, remont is to, you know, remont the watch. Yes, yes.
Я такий радий, Борис, forever Great Britain. Це капець, який я радий. Скажи, що ми вдячні будемо до кінця свого життя.
He said more than thank you.
Дякую.
Нажміть, дивіться. Борис. Я радий, я такий радий вас бачити. Я люблю Британію. Вона рятувала нас. І я, мої діти, мої внуки будемо про це пам'ятати. Це буде жити крізь століття, ці спогади. Ви нам дуже потрібні. Всі це знають.
It's nice to meet you, and it's been our privilege to help you have a remarkable president, Mr. Zelensky, who's done an outstanding job, and we simply wish to keep supporting the people of Ukraine for as long as it takes.
Дякую, Борис. Я ніколи в житті не мріяв вас зустріти. Це найкраща зустріч в моєму житті.
Добрий день.
Майдан.
The cars can move here.
All right, and then video number 2 of that happening. Again, this is Boris Johnson visiting Kyiv, the United Kingdom Prime Minister visiting. This is President Zelensky and Boris Johnson.
I think he was.
Я купила для друзей из Польши вот таких петушков, они были на бородянке на шкафчике стояли, вот такие вот петушки остались, да, я хотела бы их подарить.
I'm from London.
No, I'm from Kharkiv. No, so sorry.
Thank you very much. Is it for wine or for water? Two cockerels.
And then continuing on, but that was the biggest event of the day. And then this is a report again from Chernihiv. This is to the northeast of the capital city of Kyiv. And they're getting some aftermath videos from Russian occupation in the region, in the territory. So here's Kyiv, capital city, and then Chernihiv is up here to the northeast. Credit to the Kyiv Independent for this reporting. Like the video if you guys haven't.
We're now in Chernihiv, original capital, northeast of Kiev.
Hit that like button. Share the stream on Facebook if you have not done so. Make sure you're following and you are subscribed to the YouTube channel so you guys don't miss any Ukraine war updates.
This is the stadium of a local team, Desna, which played in Ukraine's top division. The stadium was hit with an airstrike. According to the regional administration, the stadium can't be repaired. We're here in Novosilivka, a suburb of Chernihiv, where it looks like every house was destroyed. The people we were able to talk to told us that for 21 days, Russia bombed this area. Many had died. Here, a family lived, a mother, a father, and 2 children. They fled to Chernihiv, and then when they came back, their house was ruined.
That's a story out of Chernihiv. Let's see if there's anything new. Yesterday's morning footage from Kherson, 2 burning Russian BTRs. Again, here's the Kherson region. To the south, north of Crimea. Here it is right here on the map. Two burning Russian BTRs. Okay. Why? Music. At the border of the Zaporizhia region, or in the Zaporizhzhia region. They're hanging up a Russian flag in the Zaporizhzhia region. Marauder in Dnipro, so someone that has been looting. It's like their thing is to put looters on a tree. Don't have an update from the United Kingdom yet. Let's look up the Ukraine war list. How the Russians lost the battle for Kyiv, unable to move forward, bombarded by the Ukrainians, harried by their small mobile units and fast losing men and equipment. The Russians decided to cut their losses on March 31st and run. That video doesn't have any subtitles on it. Those are the Chechens fighting in Mariupol. Went through those clips. Here is captured Russian BMP-3 that has been retrofitted and now it is painted in for Ukraine. Captured Russian BTR, and also a captured Russian BM-21 Grad truck with MLRS. This one has music too. All right. And then here's a damaged Russian T-72 B3 tank.
Трошки не вижило. Ну нічого. В следующий раз їхати до нас не будуть. Муфлони.
All right, y'all.
Москальська техніка.
With that being said, I think that's going to be it for the night. I think that's going to be it for us here on Mercado Media. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for choosing independent media to stay updated. Please make sure, as you guys rewatch or if you've been watching the stream, go follow and support all the sources that we're using to reference. Thank you guys again so much for your super chats, your stars, for becoming a subscriber, for following the page on Facebook. Thank you to everybody that is engaging with the content. Thank you so much. We lost a whole bunch of people from the weeks prior, but that's just how social media works. 10 days off. I moved into my new apartment, and now we're good to go, and we're going now. So got some more things to get done here in my apartment, but that'll happen over time. Thank you guys again for choosing Mercado Media. I'm Andy Mercado. Have a wonderful night. Take care, guys. Until next time. See you then.